it's good. It's tough to have, I guess, a real comparison, but you just see from the silent tape to being out there on the field and just the kind of the presence that you can feel as spatial awareness. You're running around, you're in there, and you can feel the wingspan and the dread movement of the board. So he does a good job of covering space for sure.
So I was asking Matthew about your physicality, and he said it's not so easy. Like basically, like when you learn to protect yourself first, just take the hit. He said it's not so easy after you play one way for 3 hours to then just switch off like that. Can you switch it up? Do you? And how do you do that?
I guess she's saying like
So like in the middle. So like basically, could you step out of bounds and not take the extra 2 yards? I know that's not how you play clearly, but do you ever make that choice in the moment?
I would say no. No, it's definitely not something. Yeah, those some of those second thoughts. Yeah, they just never make it to the front.
Does anyone on the coaching staff or anyone try and guide you in that direction just to protect you?
No, I think it definitely comes in other ways. I think it is something when you watch a tape and when they're evaluating number 12, that some of just like the kind of physicality is just kind of what you expect. So I'm sure they think of other ways. They're like, man, on that run play, taking some unnecessary falls, but also I see them as necessary sacrifice for your back. So, no, I know they're looking out for me, but I love that part of it.
Rams 49ers goes back generations. In your 3 years, how would you describe what makes this rivalry unique?
I think for me, it takes me back home. I remember watching young Fred Warner out there playing with my older brother and being like, hey, I know that guy. That's the guy I've seen in the locker room. And so those are some of the moments that immediately started on the Rams 49ers. And then some of those moments where I've been at the bottom of the pond, Fred Warner's being like, yeah, Puka. Just competitive. I think the phrase that Coach McVay says is competitive stamina. And I think every time we played them, since my first home game for the Rams, 2023, seeing that sea of red enter the stadium and what it was feel like to play against them and know that we're going all the way to that final whistle blows.
Puka, you were in college at the time when Cooper had his Triple Crown season in 2021. Do you remember have any recollections of watching him during that year and how those stats were piling up?
Sadly, I don't recall too much, and I never was a fantasy player, so I never caught the buzz either. But especially just being here, having those conversations with from Matthew to Coach McVay and other people who have come into this building of things that they've watched, just the consistent pace of how he moves, and I think it comes back to that the communication that comes from Matthew, being able to understand everything from a bigger picture, and allows you to kind of have that spatial awareness out on the field and try to maximize those opportunities.
Speaking of that big picture understanding, what's it like for you guys on the field when Matthew's in the kind of zone where he's looking on his safety and firing up the touchdown pass like he did to Monte last night?
Yeah, I think the confidence that we bounce around in the huddle with is definitely felt by everybody. I think you can feel his mojo. One, the leader and the general that he is for our offense, but then kind of some of those things you don't see naturally from Matthew Stafford. Maybe it is a little flex or a little extra front after something like that. We recognize those and we applaud those because it's an extra juice for everybody else in the offense.
We've heard a lot about just how calm Matthew is in those close situations and how that kind of swings the rest of the team. How does that impact you on he's just so steady in those moments?
I think as a receiver, I mean, the high pressure moment, especially when the last couple weeks come right into 2-minute drills where we're trying to execute and the communication is at a premium. That steadiness that you feel from the first snap when you can hear everybody, you can scream out to everybody, somebody on the left side of the field, to where you can't hear anybody and we're on the silent count and the steadiness that he has. I think for me tracking the ball and just maybe slows my heart rate down a little bit so I can see it spin a couple extra times, but it definitely does have a huge impact.
Sean said yesterday that he could see on the tape the level of trust you have in terms of like it's going to put you with the ball in the direction. Like when you're playing with that level of trust, how's that for you as a receiver?
I think, man, you run your routes with just that extra bit of confidence of that there is no fear. I feel like that's a model that I say before the the games, but especially as a wide receiver, man, that in cut of trusting that, hey, feeling that spatial awareness, but also feeling that, man, this ball, even if there is a defender, it's gonna be there to protect me. One, I can make a play on the ball, but also try to avoid me from the big hit and keep me away from defenders. Or if it's zone coverage, and he's putting the ball on the right shoulder, so I can turn it, feel it as fast as possible away from the nearest defender. So those are some of those things where you get those reps in training camp, and it just feels like a normal kind of shallow sit down, but it comes to life later in the year.
Puka, if you go back to your rookie year, whether it was training camp or rookie season, what's the first thought about that trust or that elite skill set from Matthew?
I think it was definitely an OTA's rep of kind of in cut and having a safety being ready to fit there. And luckily, it was one with no pads on, so I'm sure there were a couple throws where he's like, "Hey, kid, I'm trying to keep your head on after this play," and it maybe took a couple of them, but I'm grateful that they happened with nobody hitting me.
Do you compare him differently for 49ers
I think it's in a way it's the physicality. I think that's something that stands out from some of the other teams that we play. That is a characteristic of the defense that they hold and they put a lot of pride in. So I think that's an identity that we've been working on this year. So it's going to be fun to be out there on Thursday and showcase what we got.